Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Sreeram. Really excited to be here. Thanks, Erica, Leah, organizers, for inviting me here. Brief intro, I'm Sreeram. I started this project called Eigenlayer. Now we have a slight rebrand. We're calling it Eigencloud. I'm going to tell you what it is, what you can do with it, and how you can build super cool AI stuff. So the talk is called Supercharging AI, Crypto's Next Frontier. Awesome. So Eigenlayer so far, where are we? So Eigenlayer started as a restaking protocol on Ethereum. It's the mechanism to go stake in the Ethereum protocol and then use that stake to go promise that you can run other decentralized networks correctly. So this is the root of trust of all blockchains, right? Proof of stake. You stake digital assets and then promise that the network is being run correctly. So that was the idea, that every new network, new blockchain needed a new trust network. So instead, Eigenlayer gives this unified staking network where you can go secure a whole bunch of other protocols. So we have multiple sides to this marketplace. We have stakers, people who stake and underwrite the correctness. Right now, we have $12 billion of stake in the Eigenlayer protocol, making it the third largest crypto protocol. So we have stake. We have operators, nodes that run the execution for these services. And we have 2,000 operators, starting from nodes all around the world to crypto operators like Coinbase and Blockdaemon to Google Cloud running a first-party operator. So that's the computational resource that we have on Eigenlayer. And then, okay, we have these two, but what's the use of all this stuff is people are building services, new decentralized networks on top. We call them AVS, A, autonomous, V, verifiable, service. So, think of cloud, you think of AWS, right? Amazon Web Services. Amazon runs the service. What service are they running? These are web services. What is an AVS? An autonomous. Who's running the service? It runs on its own. What do I mean it runs on its own? Anybody can stake and keep it running permissionlessly, and therefore it keeps running on its own. Autonomous, verifiable, you can hold them to account that they're running it correctly. That's what makes it verifiable. Services. So that's the AVS economy. We have 200 plus AVSs in various stages of the pipeline, 60 plus on mainnet. So that's the AVS economy. Each of these AVSs is like a whole kind of new decentralized network, right? Like a storage network or a bridging network or a MEV management network and so on. Okay, so that's what we have. We also have a very thriving ecosystem, hundreds of millions of dollars of ecosystem funding. Okay, so where are we going from here? So this is where we've been till now. And one of the things we realized is most of the services that we're building on Eigen are all infrastructure services, and they need to actually go recruit applications to use these services. Think of a storage network or an inference network or some other thing. They all have to go find these apps. And so till now, the AVSs were on their own. They had to go and try to find the apps on their own. And one of the things, now that we have the underlying layers of infrastructure ready, we are actually going to go out and find and work with apps. So that's the transformation. So if you think of Eigenlayer as this engine, and we built a bunch of services, all these components, you want to put them together into a car, a packaged product. And that's what Eigencloud is. So that apps can directly build on top of Eigencloud really easily, just like you could go easily build on top of AWS or some other cloud service. Okay, so let's see what problem we are trying to solve for apps when you think about Eigencloud. So in this chart, there are two axes. I'm plotting different projects in terms of their performance and programmability. So when you think about like how to compare different projects, the dimension that most people focus on is performance. Like what is the throughput, what is the latency? But there is another important axis, which is how programmable is it? What sets of programs can you write on top of it? And the simple place to compare this is Bitcoin versus Ethereum. On Bitcoin, you can do send and receive and hold. On Ethereum, you can build smart contracts on top. So Ethereum's more programmable than Bitcoin, but it is not, is it programmable enough Can you do anything that you want? And the one way to see you can't do anything that you want is you can't build an AI agent as a smart contract on Ethereum. So it's not programmable enough. You can't run a GPU on Ethereum. That's not a thing that exists. Ethereum decides what hardware that you have. So the goal of Eigencloud is to augment apps so that they can actually use powerful services, any software that you want, any hardware that you want, any interface that you want, any consensus modality that you want, and going even beyond purely objective constraints. Okay, so what's the architecture of the Eigencloud? You think of today when you're building a crypto app, is Eigencloud a chain? No, Eigencloud is not a chain. We want to work with every chain, like Near, like Solana, like Ethereum. So what does Eigencloud do? Eigencloud, like till today, when you're building an app, what you do is you can think of an app as being comprised of two kinds of things. One is the application's business logic, and then there is a token logic which moves the tokens around relative to the business logic. As an example, if you think of a lending platform, I'm going to liquidate some tokens if they're under collateralized, right? So that's a business logic. So you can think of the verification conditions, the conditions that are needed to move the tokens around. So those conditions as the core app logic. And till today, you had to write all the app logic on chain. And so what we're doing is providing a mechanism by which you can write app logic using arbitrary containers. I can write a program, like, when you run a program on the cloud, it runs on a container. And so you can write a program and deploy it into a container that runs on the Eigencloud. And Eigencloud brings the results verifiably back on chain. So I keep the token logic on any chain of my choice, right? So I may be building on Base or Ethereum or Solana or Near, but I keep the program logic I can write in any language, any computer, any hardware of my choice. So that's the expressivity, programmability that Eigencloud gives you. And most importantly, what you can do with it is start bringing AI and AI agents on chain, because you can write it now and express it on this Eigencloud. Okay, so what does the stack look like? When you think about a cloud stack, at the base of the cloud stack is a shared resource, like a data center. So that's the base resource of a cloud, on top of which, like an Amazon would build some services like EC2 for computation, S3 for storage. So these are first-party services that Amazon has, on top of which other people can build services. There are third-party services like Datadog and Snowflake and things like that. And so our economy or ecosystem looks similar. So you have an underlying shared security layer. People stake ETH and other tokens to secure various networks. And that's what happens on EigenLayer. On top of this EigenLayer protocol, we have our first-party services we call primitives. Core, simple, modular primitives that you can mix and match to build very powerful services. We have EigenDA is a data service. Verify is a verification and dispute resolution service. Compute allows you to run arbitrary computation. So these are primitives that we've built, and there are a whole bunch of other really powerful services in the Eigen ecosystem. It could be zk-TLS, oracles, inference, other things, and then apps then build on top. Okay, so this is the kind of like the net vision for Eigencloud, is the ability to express complex computations off-chain and to compose complex services off-chain, and to bring all of these things verifiably into any chain of your choice. So that's the main thing that we're doing with Eigencloud. And all right, so how does this help solve the core problem that we're talking about, which is, for example, bring AI on-chain? I'm going to illustrate this by a simple one service that we have in the Eigen ecosystem called Verify. So today, for example, if you look at any, the L2 or the rollup ecosystem, what you would see is the rollup ecosystem, you run computations off-chain. Let's say, in this picture on the left, you see that, back. I'm trying to click back. Oh, yeah, thank you. If you look at this thing on the left, you see like if you run an AI off-chain and try to bring the results on-chain, and you want to write a challenge protocol, where if the AI is run wrongly, I'm going to go and slash them. So this is the basic architecture of how any rollup works. You have a node that stakes and then runs the system correctly. And if the node doesn't run the system correctly, there's a challenge period where you can challenge it, and then it gets re-executed on-chain. But to execute an AI on-chain is really, really difficult, because you have all kinds of complexity that you're writing your programs in PyTorch, it's running on a GPU, GPU has non-determinism, and you have to emulate all of this back on-chain. This is one of the reasons why some of the Ethereum rollups took 5 years to build, right? Optimism, Arbitrum, taken 5 years to build their fraud proofs. Very hard. So instead, what we have is a service called Eigenverify, which is a decentralized network that can execute arbitrary computation. So if the nodes actually didn't execute it correctly, the Eigenverify nodes can actually bring these results back on-chain correctly. So this helps now for any program for which you can get determinism, which means if you run the program once and you run the program again, you're going to get the same result. For all of them, you can now run it on Eigencloud, including AI and AI agents. Okay, so what can we do with all of this stuff? So I'm switching from explaining Eigencloud and its architecture to applications and what we can do with this whole ecosystem. So because I claimed we can supercharge AI with Eigencloud. So how do we do that? So this slide is first a thesis for why we think this intersection is super interesting. Crypto, and all of us here know that we have an apps problem. Where are the apps? When apps? Is a big question that we keep asking each other. And on the other side, we have AI has a trust problem. How do you know that an AI is being executed and run correctly? This is a hard, problem, because as we offload more and more intelligence to AI to run more and more of our society, we need to know that these systems run as expected. And so when you merge these two ideas, verifiable computation and AI, you get unstoppable, verifiable AI, which is a really, really powerful metaphor for what can be built here. So maybe another anecdote here. Satya Nadella, who's the CEO at Microsoft, was on a podcast and got asked, do you think AI is like a new species? Are you guys building a new species? And Satya stopped and said, yeah, some of my AI guys say that too, but I don't think so. And he says, why? He says, it's because at the end of the day, AI agents are still delegates for human agency. So a human is delegating like authority to an AI agent to go do some things, because an AI agent by itself has no mechanism, no way by which it can own property, take liabilities, enter into contracts, create companies, all the things that humans and companies can do. So the legal infrastructure to actually enable a fully autonomous, sovereign AI world doesn't exist today, is what he says. But I think this is not the full picture. The reason is, you look at what is a blockchain and what is a smart contract. A smart contract is just a program owning property. A smart contract is just a program owning property. What do I mean by that? Think of the eigenlayer contract. It is a smart contract. What is it? It's just a program, right? It's written in Solidity. It's sitting on Ethereum. This program owns $12 billion. So it's a program owning property. That's what blockchains do. It lets programs own property. And what Eigenlayer does, Eigenlayer allows programs to take liabilities. You can stake and make promises that you're going to do something correctly. If you don't do it correctly, you're going to lose all your money. So that's another example. You can actually let programs take liabilities. So if programs can own properties, program can take liabilities, programs can start companies. They're called DAOs. A program can own a portion of a company called a DAO. Okay, so programs can do all these things. What is missing today is not that programs cannot own property. It is that blockchains cannot accommodate all programs. You can't take an AI agent and put it into a smart contract today. You can't take an AI agent and put it into a smart contract today, because if you can, an AI agent can actually own property, take liabilities, start companies, everything, enter into contracts, all things that a human can do. So crypto can be the digital native legal infrastructure that AI agents need. So that's our vision here. And in fact, like, somebody asked me for a hot take. I said, like, in 10 years, we'll have sovereign AI agents, not AI agents that are owned by people, agents that just run on their own, holding trillions of dollars of property. That's a bet that we are taking, is sovereign agents will be owning trillions of dollars of property in 10 years from now. Okay, so, and that's what we can enable. But if you look at, people talk a lot about on-chain agents, and I just want to distinguish what I'm saying from what people are saying. So people say, oh, you give an AI agent an Ethereum wallet, and that's an interesting thing. It's not. Because an AI agent, a centralized, a non-verifiable, trusted AI agent holding an Ethereum wallet is the same as an AI agent holding a Stripe API. They can just do the same set of things. There's no difference. It's fully centralized. It's not unstoppable. It's not verifiable. It's not sovereign. It's not interesting. What is interesting is if you can take an AI agent and somehow snuck it into a smart contract. A smart contract is unstoppable and verifiable. If you can just take an AI agent and put it into a smart contract, then that's something crazy and interesting. You can't do this today. And that's what we're here to make it possible. So, because, now that program can own property, and like, if you could do this, you can get unstoppable, verifiable general intelligence. And in fact, I would say that's what qualifies to be called general intelligence, is it can survive on its own, it can make money on its own, not passing some IQ test. If you think about living things all around, you say something is a living thing because it can survive on its own and reproduce. That should be the same criteria we use to define what is artificial general intelligence. Okay, so the problem is, it's just not practical till today. That's what's the problem. And what we can do is to make it practical today. Eigencloud makes autonomous, verifiable agents practical, not just possible. So what you do is you run this like verifiable, you run an agent on Eigencloud, you have stake, and you bring the results on chain. If the results are not correct, anybody can challenge it. If somebody challenges it, you can go and, there is a verification protocol. Once the verification protocol is done, you got the right result on chain, and you can take actions like moving money around. So when you look at an AI agent with a wallet, you have like a centralization risk that the wallet stores like, is a custody risk. Whereas if it's in a smart contract, there is no custody risk. Nobody owns this stuff, just runs on its own perpetually. Okay, so that's the idea. What we can do, I'm just going to talk a little bit about AI agents. When you think about the difference between just an AI model or an inference and an agent, it's just an AI model with an orchestrator, with memory, goals, and tool calls. You can do all these things together. That's what an AI agent is. To make this whole thing verifiable, you have to verify every single dependency in this stack. So the computation needs to be verified, the data needs to be verified, the inference needs to be verified, the tool call needs to be verified. This needs a very deep stack of verifiability. And what we have in the EigenLayer ecosystem with our 100 plus AVSs is every single one of these things. Inference, training, data, benchmarks, GPU markets, verifiable oracles, multi-party computation, all these things exist already in various stages as AVSs. You can mix and match them to create really, really powerful, unstoppable, verifiable agents. So it's not just agents. AI made verifiable completely changes the landscape of what crypto is. It completely changes what is possible with crypto. Intents, we write intents in, not in, you just express intents today by like, your wallets. but it should be in natural language. But you need an AI to interpret that natural language. You need DeFi, which is intelligent. You need governance, which is automated, not majority or committee based. You need smart contracts, which are automatically synthesized behind the hood based on what you think they should do. You should be able to enter into contracts like you would enter into legal contracts, have all kinds of clauses and conditions that are not binary and simple. If you don't have this, you can't really do most of the things that are interesting. You want to have like decentralized signs, DeSci, but today DeSci has limited transparency. If you had an AI run your, be a scientist, you get like highly verifiable, autonomous stuff. So this just extends all the way through the stack, and I think this changes and accelerates the fundamentals of crypto. Here's a snapshot of some of the projects building on top of us. Layer Lens is an AI benchmark project. OpenLedger is doing data markets. We have a bunch of other projects doing various different things. And together, these services, when concatenated, bring a superpower to crypto and AI. And the call for builders is simple: build really powerful, expressive crypto apps with verifiable agents, make smart contracts smarter with AI. Thank you so much.